All right, greetings. Welcome back. We're going to get into another one of the crash courses specially designed for the Comedic Wisdom School. I am Brandon Jones, psychotherapist, professor, and author. And in today's crash course, we're going to talk about when to seek help. Oftentimes I get asked, as someone who's in this mental health field and someone who's in this human service world, when should people actually reach out for help? What are the signs? What do we need to know to actually reach out for help? So we're going to talk a little bit about that today. I'm going to give some tips on when to actually reach out for help and get some assistance to improve your current situation, improve your mindset, and help you manage your emotions as best as possible. So, is therapy right for Black people? One of the things that I hear often is that Black folks do not like therapy. We don't enjoy it. It's not for us. It's not helpful, etc. And those experiences definitely can be true. However, therapeutic healing has been something that we've always done collectively. We've always had the aunties that were the social workers and the grandmas and the grandfathers who were the therapists. We've always had our own natural healing remedies for the things that would go on. But as time has gone on and as our experience has become more and more complex, we still need additional types of healing. And professional therapy can be one of those things to help us, but it has to be done our way. It has to be done that fits our culture, that we're comfortable with, and that makes sense for us. We have to always put our own flavor and spin on things so that it ends up being something that's impactful and useful for us as Black people. We've done this in many different fields in many different ways. So this is nothing new to us. But when we talk about seeking out therapy, mental health therapy, that has to be very distinct. It has to be done for us and it has to be very focused and Black-centered or African-centered for it to really connect with us on that deep level where we do begin our healing process. So I believe therapy is for us. Many people don't because of their experiences, what they've heard, and also therapy was not originally for Black people. It wasn't something that was created for Black people at all, but it is a tool that is here that can assist us in our healing journey if it's done appropriately. So let's talk about the 3 keys to pick a therapist. A lot of times people don't even know how to pick somebody. How do I go from I need help to you are the person to help me? That's a very difficult question. That's a very difficult place to be for a lot of people is I'm in a bad situation. I need a lot of help. And you are someone that can actually help me. So how do we get from point A to point B as people? I'm going to give you 3 keys to picking somebody that can be good for you. You can always get help from an individual like me, and we can connect you to other people that we trust to connect you. But sometimes that's not an option for people. They have to go in blindly into a therapeutic situation. So let's look at 3 keys. 3 keys to picking a therapist. Number 1, very, very important. Find someone who is transparent. You need to find someone who's transparent. So if you want to find the right therapist for yourself, be sure to have at least a minimum of 5 questions. 5 questions, minimum of 5 questions that are important to you to ask the therapist. So you can ask the therapist, where did they go to school? What practices do they use? Have they ever worked with Black people? Have they ever worked with someone who's been in your own particular situations? Have they ever worked dealing with trauma? What is their understanding of how society affects you as a person in the world? as a Black person, you can ask them all different types of questions, but you should ask your therapist questions, because unfortunately what happens in this power dynamic between therapist and client is that the therapist is in the position to ask a lot of the questions, and a lot of times the clients don't know what to ask, they don't know when to ask or how to ask things. But it's important for you to go in with questions right away. Many therapists are open to answering your questions, and if they're not open to answering your questions, that's usually a warning sign. But you should always ask your questions to the therapist, because you need to kind of get to know them. One thing about our culture, we're very relational people, and we are built on rapport. We want to know who you are, where you come from, who your mama is, who your daddy is, where you go to high school. We want to know these things, and those things are important because it gives us a cultural context on who you are as an individual, and are you someone to be trusted. And unfortunately, in this field of therapy, we are trained when we go to grad school and we get, these master's degrees and these PhDs, we're trained not to build rapport, not to reveal a lot of personal information about ourselves. But that doesn't work from a cultural standpoint, a cultural context standpoint, because that sets a barrier between you and your client. So when that barrier is set, it's hard for a Black person to really trust or relate to you, because you're withholding truth. You're withholding who you are. We need to feel a vibe. We need to feel something with you. And that's the important piece of building a relationship with clients, especially with Black folks, is because we need to feel that. We need to understand, okay, this person understands what I'm saying. I don't have to break down my whole history to them. I don't got to explain what it's like to be a Black person. They get it. And I can just be who I am and not feel judged. I can just be who I am and not feel intimidated. I can just be who I am and be comfortable. And that's what's important. So you need to find somebody who's transparent. If they are reserved to answering your questions, they're not a good fit for you, period. If you ask, let's say you get your 5 questions together and they can't answer 3 out of the 5 questions, you might need to fire them and find a new person. And that's completely okay, which we'll get into in a moment. Here are a few basic questions to kind of get you started, because I know you're like, well, Brandon, you say we need to ask some questions. Well, what are some questions to ask? Start with the basics. It doesn't have to be super deep unless you are that type of person and you're ready for the super deep stuff. But ask the basic questions. Are you a licensed psychologist? How many years have you been practicing psychology? Have you been feeling, anxious, tense, depressed, all that? And I'm having problems with my job, marriage, sleep, and eat, blah, 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 right? My life. What experiences do you have helping people with these types of issues? So there you go. So you tell them you've been feeling some type of way, tell them what your issues are. Have you had experience helping these types of people? What are your areas of expertise with working with families of color? What are your expertise working with people who've been in foster care? What are your expertise working with people in blended families? What are your expertise working with Black children? All those questions are appropriate and should be asked. What kind of treatments do you use? Have you ever been proven? Have they ever been proven effective for dealing with my kind of problems or my issues or my people? Those are all questions to ask. What are your fees? That's very important. If you don't know how much the fees are, and you get into a session, next thing you know, you get a bill in the mail, and you realize your insurance ain't covered, or they want you to pay a copay. You need to know those things up front. So before you even get into a situation, what are the fees, and do they have a sliding fee scale? Um, and what the sliding scale fee or sliding fee scale, I've heard it both ways. What that is based on your income, depends on how much you pay for therapy, because therapy can be somewhat expensive for people. So you want to know those types of things. Is there a sliding fee scale? Because I make this amount of money per year, and I want to make sure that I can afford to actually come to therapy. That's very, very important. What types of insurances do you accept? Will you accept direct billing or payment from my insurance company? Are you affiliated with any managed care organizations? And do you accept Medicaid or Medicare? Very important questions. You need to know how you're going to actually pay for it. So knowing the fee is important, but what's the methodology going to cover it? You might be able to pay for it through your insurance entirely. That's great. You might have to come out of pocket a little bit. You might need to know what that copay is. All those things are fine, but you need to be able to understand the financial investment you're making into your healing process. And that's important. All right. Choosing someone who can address your issues, not make you comfortable. Whew, that's a deep one. Because what I just talked about was building rapport, somebody that you need to feel comfortable with. But just because you feel comfortable with somebody doesn't mean that they can solve your problems. That's not a guarantee. So just because you feel comfortable with somebody doesn't mean that they can actually solve your problem. They can actually help you. You might find somebody who's super relatable, right? They might be somebody who is like, dang, like if this person was my therapist, I would love to hang out with this person. I'd love to go get coffee with this person. I'll invite them to my birthday party. I'll go watch a game with them. But that's not the type of person you want. You don't want a friend in this matter. You want a confidant. You want somebody who's there to help you, but not somebody who's there to be buddy buddy with you. Being buddy buddy with you is not helpful long term. It might make you feel good in a moment, but after a while, you start to wonder, is this person really helping me, or are they just a good friend? We have a lot of most people have good friends already, but they need that assistance for their healing journey. And that's when you need somebody who's not necessarily a friend. They're relatable, but they're not necessarily a friend. So you're looking for someone to trust with your secrets, not with your life. Very big statement. You need someone to trust with your secrets, but not with your life. You trust your friends with your life. If you're choking, you expect your friends to save you. If you're a therapist, you can trust your secrets, but if you're choking, your therapist might not necessarily try to save you due to liability issues. But if you were somebody like me, I ain't trying to see you die either. So I'll try to save you. But you do want to make sure that this person is good enough to hold your secrets and that these secrets won't pop up in other places in your life. Um, but also know that they're not here to save you from your life. So that's a big, big statement right there. Therapy is an uncomfortable experience, but it is worth it. That's another important piece, is that telling somebody your deepest, darkest secrets and the things that have happened to you in the past is not easy. It's painful. It's scary. It's uncomfortable. It can be somewhat anxiety provoking, but hopefully that therapist has built enough rapport with you where you feel comfortable telling them whatever, and they make it feel easy for you to share those things and get those things off your chest, because that is what you need to heal. That's what you need to get on this healing journey and to feel like progress is being made, is that level of support. So again, choose someone who can address your issues, not just make you comfortable. I should have put just in there. But you don't want somebody who just give you comfort. They need to be giving you some action steps and some ways to help you heal and begin your healing journey. And the next one, don't be afraid to fire your therapist. I always recommend, when somebody starts working with me, I always recommend give me a month, give me 4 sessions to see if this is a good fit. And after roughly 4 sessions, which is about once a week, if it's not a good fit, I will attempt to find you someone that is a better fit for you. That is my duty. Most therapists swear an oath to doing that, to being able to find the best fit possible to help someone through their journey. And that is something that we should be held a standard to, but most people don't do. They don't give people enough chances to see if this is a good fit. And then they also, if it's not a good fit, people don't necessarily say this is not working for me. They just kind of ghost and disappear on the therapist. I recommend that you don't do that, because after 4 sessions, we've already built enough information on you that we could probably pick a person that we know will fit your personality type, and we can give them enough background information on you where to be a better transition than you just going cold turkey and finding someone yourself. So I recommend giving people about 4 sessions of your time to see if this is going to work. And if after those 4 sessions, if it doesn't, feel free to say you're fired. I need somebody else. Not a problem at all. So if you feel like there has been no connection and or no progress in your thought process, do not be afraid to fire your therapist. A good therapist will attempt to find you a better fit. So on that note, never, ever, ever be afraid to say,
You're fired! What?
because your therapist will understand. Therapy only works if you work it. Therapy is not easy. Dealing with your demons, quote unquote, dealing with the pain, dealing with the trauma that you've experienced is never easy, but it's necessary. And that's what I try to do. I try to help people understand how to get in that process, how to begin their healing journey, and how to continue on to their healing journey. Again, I am Brandon Jones. I'm a psychotherapist, but also I'm still a human being. I'm a Black man. been through a lot of trauma. I seen a lot of domestic violence as a kid, growing up, struggling with manhood, struggling with masculinity, identity, struggling with dealing with, being in a system of racism, white supremacy, faking my identity and trying to be somebody who I really wasn't. Growing up with these false ideas of manhood, growing up with depression. I've been in these situations. I've lived this life, of growing up as a young black man. But I've always had a lot of pride in myself. I always had a concept and a focus that something else was better if I keep going forward. And I always had curiosity of how to improve myself. And unfortunately, a lot of us lose that because we don't have people to help us. They don't have people to intervene uh, within our lives to provide constructive support. And that's what I attempt to do in all the work that I do. So, but I want you to know that this work is not easy. This work comes with a lot of roadblocks. This work comes with a lot of frustration and a lot of discomfort. But that discomfort is your growth. That is your proof that you're growing. Just like when you work out, your muscles get tight, they get tense because you're working those muscles out. And, if you consistently do that, your body starts to get better. Your muscles start to get stronger. You start to get stronger. And honestly, when you work out consistently, it also makes your mentality stronger as well. It's the same thing you have to do with your mind, with your mental. You have to work it out. You have to be consistent. So if you don't work it out, it's not gonna work. So therapy only works if you work it. If you're interested in any of the content that I provide, any of the help that I provide, definitely check out the JAGMAN Institute. I have courses there. I have audiobook there. I have some other things that are coming, some boot camps as well. So I want you all to check out JAGMAN Institute. You can check out my work at jagna.org, and that can connect you to the JAGMAN Institute. But the Institute is a place for learning and healing. It's a place for self-mastery, and it's a place for you to get the things that you need to keep moving forward on your journey, because this thing is not easy, like I said before. But you have to get started now. You have to get started today. And, if it's not me, it could be someone else. But I definitely got some content there that I believe that you will enjoy. So check out the JAGMAN Institute. One of those things that I have that you can check out right now is Level Elite, the personal revolution for self development. And self is an acronym for survival, education, legacy, and future. This is what you need to get on your healing journey and move beyond and forward. So definitely check out the audiobook and all my other content at jagna.org. Begin your journey to self-mastery. Begin your healing journey now. I am Brandon Jones, and I look forward to connecting with you again soon. Peace.